We'll do a review of Lekutei Sichas in Chelek Yudches. This is the fourth sicha for the Parsha Shelach. The Rebbe explains a piece of Zohar on the week's Parsha when Moshe Rabbeinu was davening to Hashem to forgive the Jewish people. So he says, "Va'ato yigdal," after the Chet HaMeraglim, he says, "Va'ato yigdal no koyach Adnai." Let the power of Adnai be great. The Rebbe brings down a Zohar and the interpretation of his father, the different Lashonis, but the Rebbe will explain the whole sicha, the meaning of Yigdal no koyach Adnai. What does it mean to increase the power of Adnai? What's the chiddush over there is that to find that even in the world, even where it seems that a Yid and a non-Yid are equal, still there is the koyach Adnai expressed afke by a Yid. Let's look inside. Aleph. If in Pasuk va'ata yigdal no koyach Adnai, steht in Zohar, on the verse, let the power of Adnai increase, steht in Zohar, it says in the Zohar, Rabbi Chaim and Rabbi Yesi Amri, Rabbi Chaim and Rabbi Yesi, they both say, Zakoyi inun Yisrael me'amein akum dalmo, that the Jewish people are privileged more than the nations of the akum, of the goyim of the world. In what does their special privilege consist? So he says three things. First of all, the kutsha brichu, Hashem Isra'i behu, Hashem wants and chooses them. V'iskani behu, Hashem uses the Yisrael as a nickname. He is a kinui for Hashem is Yisrael. And Rebbe will explain each one of these details. V'ispire behu, and Hashem praises himself with them, with the Yid. So Yisra'i behu, Iskani behu, V'ispire behu. It says the Ha'alma Ivri Elo Beginiho in the Yisrael. For this world has not been created only because of the Yidn. And the Yisrael Chul etc. Inun Kiyuma delay. And the Yidden are the sustaining, what sustains the world from Hayalma, from this world. And also Vikiyuma the Chol Shar Armin, and the sustaining of all other nations. So that's the special quality of Yidden. And the Rebbe will explain the sicha, how is that connect to the Ata Yigdal no koyach Adnai, as we will see down the sicha. But the dam for was der Zohar bring dort drei miles of Eden. Why does the Zohar bring here three greatness, advantages of Eden? Und davke die drei, and specifically these three mentioned by the Zohar. As the Eberste's Rotzen und Bechire is in Zay, that God's want and choosing is in the Yidden. Sein Kinui is the Shem Yisrael, Hashem's nickname sort of is the name Yisrael. Und is sich mispair mit Zay, and Hashem praises himself with the Yidden. Und nicht mit andere, so why does he not mention the others? Und that are seemingly are even greater miles of the Yidden. As for example, we are called children of Hashem. That's not mentioned here about the Milas. Is that Tate Mevayir in Zayne Ha'ore Sefer Zohar? So the Rebbe's father explains in his notes on the Zohar, Adosis Behesem to them, that this fits with the fact was as Retzich weiter in Zohar. It discusses further in the Zohar as Eden Zaynen der Leif Shel Kol Ha'olam. The Yidden are the heart of the world. So being the heart of the world, these three characteristics, advantages that is mentioned in the Zohar relate the heart, the midos of the person. With the Hemshah from the Maimon HaZohar Gufa, and we see not only later on in Zohar in the same statement, as Eden Zayin and Kiyuma delay, they are the sustaining. That's like the heart that sustains the body. So that's the Kiyum of them. So because we are talking Yidden as the Leiv is the Far Rechenter the Drei Miles. So that's why he enumerates here the three advantages was einen kineged the gimul kavim shebemidas. They correspond to the three lines in midas. You have chesed, gevura, and tiferes. These three correspond to chesed, gevura, and tiferes. Was mishkan midas subelev? Where is the dwelling of the midas? Is in the heart, and this is the heart. The heart, the yidden are the heart of the world, and these are the three advantages of yidden as they relate to the parts of the heart, to the chesed, gevura, and tiferes. There is mevayer, and the Rabbi's father explains, as is Rai who wants them, the want of Hashem and the choosing of Hashem, that's the level of chesed. Iskani behu, that Hashem nicknames the Yidden, is level gvura. And connected with Shem Elikim. Shem Elikim is bigematria, is the same numerical value as Kinui. They both Elikim, and the word Kinui together are 86. Elikim is 86 also. So that's a connection level of Gevura. Elikim is Matikina. Uninspirable is Bechinas Tiferes. The Hashem praises them is level of Tiferes. Und damit is move on. So now with this we understand. Why it isn't fitting to bring down here that Yidden are called as sons to Hashem. When we say Yidden are sons to Hashem, that expresses the advantage of Yidden, that they are totally higher than creation. Chazal, as a language as Chazal use, that the thought for Yidden comes before any all matters. That's the level of Bonim. Mashaykin doin Zohar is Negeya, as opposed to here in Zohar. What's important over here is V'Yidden seinen Inwelt, as Yidden are part of the world. The Matorah v'Tachlis Abriya, that they are the goal and the purpose of creation, of the creation of the world. Al Malay Ivri Ella Biginoy in the Israel. The world was not created but because of the Kiyum Ha'olam and the sustaining of the world. Therefore, that the Zohar wegen Yidden v'Zayne B'chinas slave. That's why the Zohar discusses Yidden as they are in the level of a heart from the world. Kinal, as mentioned earlier. Okay, this explains, the Rebbe's father explains in the Zohar why we talk about these three advantages of Yidden, because we're not talking about general advantages where Yidden are even higher than the world. We're talking within world as the Lev is divided into Chesed, Gevura, and Tiferes, which is the three advantages of Yisroibu and the Kinui and the Tiferes. However, how does this relate to basement? We need to understand, however, number one, what is the shaykhs from the Teuchen HaMaimer? What's the connection from the contents of this statement, the Drei Miles and Al from Eden, about these three advances of Eden? How does it connect from Posik to the verse that the Zohar places himself? He explaining the verse, let the koyach vadnai increase, and then the Zohar says, and then the Zohar says that the three advantages of Yidden. How does this connect? Beit. And number two, either the Zohar rechates the drei miles from Yidden, before he specifies details, the three advantages of Yidden, is a magdim. He introduces Zakoyin Inun Yisrael me Amin Aku, the Alma, that the Yidden are privileged, are worthy, are meritorious, more than all the nations of the world. And he says, because Kuchabrich Yisrael, the wants them, it chooses them, and Kinu Yisrael was from them signal the Hemshach HaLoshon is mashma. From the style and the flow of the language, it appears. At the Zohar to the Oifachidush, that the Zohar is giving us here a novelty, telling us that Yidden are greater than the nations of the world. Is Tamua. So that's surprising that the Zohar has to come and tell us that the Yidden are greater than the nations of the world. We can go to Zaina Havamina. How could there even be a thought? As Yidden Zaina needs Zakoime Amin Akodalma. The Yidden are not privileged from all the nations of the Goyim of the world. So why would the Zohar come up that, well, there's some privilege them? This would be an obvious thing. The move on. Generally, it's hard to understand the meaning for Zakoyin Inun Yisrael Ma'amin Abkudalma. That the Yidden are privileged more than nations of the world. As Malosam Shel Yisrael, how are we gauging the advantage, the greatness of the Yidden? Mesich in Fargalaich, we are going to measure it to compare it with the Amim Akum, how the nations of the Goy. Pshas as Yidden seien in ganzem voneinander Sug. Yidden are in a totally different category. Yidden seien berumen, moved off from Yidden. Yidden are exalted and distinguished, separated from Nat Yidden, not comparing them to Nat Yidden. So, what's the Zohar trying to tell us about how comparative to the Goyim, Yidden are greater, they have a special privilege? The Rebbe is going to explain that we're actually talking about the greatness of Hashem is how to recognize the Maila of a Yidden at the level in which a Yidden and a Goy seem to be the same. There is a general idea which all possessed, and non-Jew as well, and yet Yigdal Nokoyach Adnai, that a Yid is special. Let's look inside. Gimel. But when those verstehen, Bahagdim Abiyur in Pirush and Posik, will understand it by explaining the verse, Ba'ato Yigdal Nokoyach Adnai. In Pashtus, Moshe Rabbeinu mit der Tefillah gewollt euch beten. Simply, Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to accomplish with his prayer the Meibishn Slicha from Chet HaMeraglim. He wanted Hashem should forgive the sin of the Meraglim. That's why he was beseeching and praying to Hashem. With the Medrash Fatayj the Verter, as the Medrash translates the words, Yigdal no koyach Adnai. Let the power of Adnai increase. And what would happen if it increases? V'tenat seyach midas harachamim lemidas hadin. And the measure of compassion will be victorious over the measure of judgment. Is the movement not understood? Generally, the name Adnai actually represents the level of Hashem being master of the world. And that would represent a level of judgment. Increasing the level of Adnai, what does it mean? How would that increase the level of Rachamim? So it's not understood. Aleph. Since that Moshe wanted to arouse the measure of compassion, so then his prayer should have been Ata Yigdal no Hashem, Koyach Hashem, Midas Harachamim. Favos Oter Gibet Yigdal no Koyach Adnai. Why was he asking, requesting the power of Adnai should become great? What's made the pashtus? What does it mean, the power of Adnai? The Hagdola Kavayochel in them Koyach Hashem Adnai. That means, it's literally simply, what does that mean? That the name Adnai, to increase, so to speak, Kavyochel, the power of the name of Adnai. What is Adnai? Meloshin Adnus. That's a master. That is connected to measure of judgment. So what does it mean? We're asking to have Rachamim, but why is he saying Yigdal no koyach Adnai? And number two, base Farvoski Fitman de Bakoshi Yigdal no koyach Adnai. Why do we find this request that the power of Adnai should increase? Davke by the Slicha of Chet HaMeraglim, specifically by the forgiving of the sin of the Meraglim. Und nicht, wenn Moshe Rabbeinu gewollt Peil sein, Slichos Shelach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not when Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to affect God's forgiveness. On the sin of the Egel, of Onoif andere Chatoim. Why don't we find over there Yigdal no Koyach Adnai? The Birinda. So what's the explanation of this? Das was the Meraglim haben nicht gewollt, as the Eden sollen reingehen in Eretz Yisrael. What was going on over here? What did the Meraglim want that the Yidden shouldn't go in Eretz Yisrael? The Rebbe is explaining now that there is a place, everybody agrees that Hashem can do miracles in the desert. But when you come into a settled place, in a natural place, Hashem has set it up that it should go in a natural place. Over there, the Meraglim thought you can't have miracles in a place where it's supposed to be nature. Those was the Meraglim of the Gewalt as the reingehen in Eretz Yisrael. Why didn't they want to go in Eretz Yisrael? Is not given the far was gelekut chazon. It wasn't because they denied, God forbid, in their yichulus from Eberstein to Tzanisim Chulu, in the ability of Hashem to do miracles. That's not the reason. Nor by Zeyot gefelt in them hergish, but they were rather lacking the feeling as their Eberstein is Adnai, that the Eberstein is a master. That the Eibster is a master for all of his creation. Meaning that even after they were created and even after nature, still Hashem remains their master. He can change it. Hashem is in charge. Since their sin, they blemished the name Adnai because they denied the power of Adnai. Is there tikkun dereif? So how is the correcting for that blemish of blemishing name Adnai? Durch Yigdal no koyach Adnai is by increasing the power of Adnai. I'll explain what does it mean that they didn't believe they were pagan with the name Adnai in the Eberste's master. So Rebbe brings down, this is when it says, when they said that he's stronger, that in the nature, the world of nature, they're stronger. Hashem is not in charge over there. When Hashem himself says that it should be nature, can't be beyond nature. Dalet. If in Pasuk Chazak hu mimenu says that the Meraglim said that he is stronger than him, Zogn Chazal, our sages of blessed memory, say, as the Meraglim of Gitaine, that the Meraglim were arguing, so to say that even the Baal Habos, meaning Hashem, is not able to take his vessels out of there. What does that mean? The Pirushadam, what do they mean Hashem cannot take out his vessels? What he created from there, that from control what's going on in Eretz Canaan. So that we've spoken once already at length. The Meraglim haben Gitaine, the Meraglim argued as the Anhoga Mises from Eberstein is Masim Nori Midbar. The miraculous conduct of Hashem is fitting only in the desert. Jews were separated from the settlement of the world. They were undressed, they were not caught up in the preoccupation and the existence of this physical world. Over there in a place in which they are not under the dominance of the laws of nature. The desert, there's no settlement there. Over there, miracles can take place. But when you enter into a settled land, where the Torah instructs, when you come to the land, Torah says 6 years you have to sow in a natural way. A person has to plow and a person has to sow. Unlike in the desert where they ate the manna and they had everything was miraculous. Over here, there's a natural way of life. When the Teglicher say that Hayom is Alpi Torah, the daily order of the life according to the Torah, is measured according to the boundaries and the ways of nature. So at the same time, you cannot conduct yourself with a conduct which is against nature. Since according to nature, those inhabitants of the land are stronger than Yidden, unless you cannot rely on the miracle. It needed to remain in the midbar. This is the meaning what they said, as if to say that even the master cannot take out the vessels from there. Of course, for sure, the Meraglim, they knew, the spies, they knew as their Eibishter can turn nisim, God can do miracles. Unochmer, not only that God can do miracles, as Oichan Hogas Hatava is an Hogalikis. Even the conduct nature is also a godly conduct. This is Mudgish Ezer Taina Gufa, as it's emphasized in their argument. Ados is Kelov, that these are his vessels, and in them Eibishter's Kalim. Those are the vessels of the Eibishter. Nature is Hashem's tools. That's his vessels. Nature. But their argument was as Yibal, their Bal Habai is the Eibishter. Since the master, which is Hashem, the one above, Hot eingestellt the Bayis, the world has set up the house, the world, in Aseder von Hogativis, in an order of a natural conduct. Avil mezozach fidim b'asem to them seder. He wants us to conduct ourselves as it fits this order. Is so to speak, he cannot take out the vessels from there. Can it zayin an hoga? There cannot be a conduct von oiston sich von agbolas hateva to undress, to go out of the limitations of nature, because Eibishter put you in nature. That was the argument. But the emes is over. But the truth, however, as Afal Pi, as the Eibishter hat ausgestellt hat die Welt, although Hashem set up the world, so Zechfirim mit ein Hogativis should conduct itself in a natural way, is Nichayich zu sagen, Chaz v'sholem, as it is any yochel. You cannot say, God forbid, he can't, any yochel loitzi, gebunden. Hashem's hands are not tied in that anhoga to this conduct. But is kol yochel, Hashem is all able. He says, he always has the ability to change nature. And more than that, not only is Hashem by himself able to change nature, the Dibur is by Yid, also a Yid, by Yid, they are a portion of Hashem from above. They're basically an extension and a part of Hashem. And the people are part of Hashem. And they are not tied to the laws of nature, to the conduct of nature. They have the ability, when it's necessary, in the case where it's necessary, to push themselves beyond nature. This is what Moshe Rabbeinu asked. Let the power of Adonai get its increase. Let it get that the master of Hashem, the increase, that it's not limited to nature, that Hashem's mastery says that even in nature, he's in control. It's the koyach of Adonai increase there. The shame Adnus is the mocker from Hogas Hatava. The name Adnus is the source of the conduct of nature. The Alter Rebbe is Mevayer. The Alter Rebbe explains as for Midah Zu v'Shem Zeh, that from this measure of Adnai and this name of Adnai, nimmt sich die Savas from Welt, that is from where the creation of the world is taken, in an oifen, in such a way as zizet ois that it appears to be al sayesh gamur b'davar nifrei min ha'atzma, a totally entity and something totally independent, totally by itself. Aber, that's the name Adonai. Zusammen der mit weiß der Shem. But at the same time, the name points to the fact as der Eberster is Odein l'chol b'riyusacha, that Hashem is the master to all of his creation. While he created everything, it comes in age, but he's the master of it. It is the Bal Odeinu Balabayis or the ganze Bria. He is the master, and he is the in charge over the entire creation. So Mishana he can change it as he wishes. The Meraglim the Meraglim with their argument. I feel about that even the master cannot take out his vessel. They blemish the name Adonai. In the Adnos from Obersten of the Bria, in Hashem's mastery over creation. Und der Fahr, genau, that's why above, hat Moshe Rabbeinu gebeten, be'ato yigdol no koyach Adonai, that it should be increased the koyach Adonai, as on his gadol, on his galaven, it should be increased and be revealed, the koyach von Adonai, the power of Adonai. Wie der Eberster is a vollständiger Balabos of Anhokas HaTeva. Hashem is a complete master over the conduct of nature, and he's not limited into that Hagar of nature. The Rebbe says the reason why the Meraglim made that mistake, that Hashem is limited in his mastery of the world, is because they made a mistake in not recognizing the advantage of Yidden within the world itself. Hey, those was by the Meraglim had gefelt in their Hakorim. This, that by the Meraglim, they were lacking the recognition for Ato Odin L'chol B'riyasecha, you are the master of all creations, of all that you created. With the Ebersh's Baal Batishkeit Welt, that Hashem's being in charge over the world is Klaunit Mugbal Chazashom, is at all not limited. That Hashem's being a master isn't limited at all in Darkei HaTeva, in the ways of nature, is verbunden mit dem, was basiert gefällt, that's connected, that's tied to the fact that they were lacking the Hakore in their Meile from Eden, recognizing the greatness of Yidden, of the Yidden, wie they seien die Welt, as also when they are in the world, sind sie nicht gebunden durch die Gedre HaTeva, they are not tied through the boundaries of nature. According to their understanding, besteht the Meile von Eden in them, verbund, the advantage of a Yid consists in his connection, his tie with Neighborsten, was his Hecher from Welt. He's connected to Hashem, which is higher from world. Which means, in the position when a Yid is higher than world, he does Torah, mitzvahs, things like that, then he's connected with Hashem, but not in world. Specifically, when a Yid finds himself in the study hall or in the prayer, basically as the shul, and he occupies himself in Torah and prayer, or when he's occupied in performing mitzvahs, observing mitzvahs, doing mitzvahs, then he is connected to Hashem. But when a Yid occupies himself with natural matters, externally it appears as a that he conducts himself in the same way as somebody not Jewish. Then is the talk from Then he says there is no advantage. A Yid has no advantage over the other nations. The river, and therefore the Baal as a home the advantage of beyond nature. While you are in nature, that You're also above nature. They did not sense that in the Chelek mamish, and that portion of Hashem imal mamish, that it is even within nature connected to Hashem. But by the felt in their hakore, so they were also lacking in the recognition as their Eibishter is on sicha, that Hashem is the master for all creation. Being teva gufa is a lakus shalom island, that within the nature itself, godliness is higher than nature. Und das ist der Biur in the Maimon HaZohar. This is the explanation in the saying of the Zohar, Zakoyi inun Yisrael chulu, that the Yidden are privileged. The Hagdola from Koyach Adnai, the increase in the power of Adnai, in Eden, as it expresses itself in the Yidden, that brings out their advantage, their greatness, as it's connected and in relationship relative to Amim, to Akum the Alma, to the Akum, which the nation of the going of the world. Basically, Afilu ven Eden, Zainen in Helen v'Hester, even when Yidden are in the blockages and the obscurity of the world. And openly you do not see their advantage and their greatness relative to the people. This is doa habemina, to the extent that there is a thought, maybe they're not different than the nation of the world. So is there emes? But what is the truth? As Eichdan is Zakoyin in the Yisrael Ma'amin Akud Alma, that the Yidden are distinguished, they're privileged, they're meritorious more than the nation of the world. Eden Zainen Afilu in Azam Matzav, even in the situation in where they are in the hell of Esther Olam, still in a Matzav God Anders Fuzei, totally different from the non-Jews. Ubehemshach to them. Bring to the dry miles, and as a follow-up to this, it brings these three advantages: Isra'i buhu, the iskani buhu, the ispire buhu. As the Rebbe will explain each one of these miles, that in the world, Isra'i buhu, Hashem chooses them. He is nicknamed after them, ispire buhu, by the similar to that, you also are. This is about regards to Yidden. Similar we find to the creation in general. As euch in the Inyonim, that also in these aspects, sein Eden den ganzen ausgeteilt von Kol Abriya, that Yidden are totally distinguished from the entire creation. That is what we're trying to bring out over here. But Chazal sagen, Kol ma shebora Kodesh Baruch Hu ve'ilomei, leibora dovrecha levatola. Everything that Hashem created in the world, He didn't create even one item that is waste. Was von dem ist verstandig. So from this we understand. As in jeder Sache von der Brie ist da Kavona B'Rotzen Hashem, that in everything that Hashem has created, there is the intention and the will of Hashem. Von deswegen, and yet, hat der Iluf ist von Yisroi, Hashaychis Norziden. This advantage that Hashem chose them and wants them, it only connects to a Yid. Davke a Yid. What's the reason for this matter? Since Yidden are the purpose and the goal of creation, so it turns out as the rotzin of the Bria Vinyoneho, that the desire for all other creation, all matters, is to live another rotzin, is for some other wish. The Eibishter wants the Yidden, that's the goal. So anything else that Eibishter wants is not for that itself, but for another purpose. And Inyan Tofel V'Emtsoi, that is a secondary, and the middle, something in the middle, to make it a kavana, to make a kavana. What does Zayin Yisrael, which are the Yidden? In the Inyone Abriya Mitzad Atzmam, those matters of create in of themselves is Nitokin, so there's no will there. It's only a will as a secondary to Yidden. The true and inner will is not in Eden Dafke, it's only in Eden. Isra'i, the will, and Bechiri is not Behu, is not in them. Selbstverständlich, so it's self-understood. As Rotzin, Shaldover Shalamata Himen. The fact that the Eibishter wants something which is below is a Tenuah from Chesed. So that's the level of Chesed, of this Midah of Chesed. That's even though there's a Kavan in everything, but the Kavan is in you. The second aspect is Kanibu, that there's nickname, Zion. The Tamfun is Kanibu. What is the Shem nicknamed in them? As Eden Zainen, the Eibishter's Akinu, that Yidden are Akinu for Hashem. Kishem ve'akinu is Maile Oifim Shem. A nickname obscures the name. It's a nickname. It's not the name. As Ken Zain, as der Kinui is Nitkin Pirush or der Kitzu from them Shem. It could be the nickname is neither an explanation, not even a short of the name. That would give him a connection to the thing that is called with the name because it's a shorter meaning of that. A nickname is not even in the same language. But on the other hand, while the kinui is not connected to the name, possibly, on the other hand, it still has a connection to the name. Was the far that's why through the nickname you can at least you can imagine what the name is. In a similar way, it's connection with Yidden with Hashem. The Baal Yidden Zayin Chelek Kamil Mal Mamish Yidden are a part of Hashem from above. Actually, Kem and Dos their Hernun their Ken and Yidden, so that you can sense that and you can recognize by a Yid. But in them there is two ways. Shas it is when the Yid is occupied with the parts of the Chelek Halakah within the Neshama, there can't then everybody can tell it's the truth. That has a portion from Hashem of below, of above. As the pasuk of Ro Kolam Baruch Shem Hashem Nikrolacha, they will seal the nation of the world. The name of Hashem is called upon. Shas Obraid Gate in Gas. Unis Vanuma mit Yona Guva when a Yid is going in the street and he's occupied with matters of the body and the world, then is often it niker the get him. Then often you can't recognize the godly holiness of him. Al Goider can't the Goy doesn't recognize it. And sometimes also to be distinguished. He doesn't also recognize that this is a holiness, there's Kedusha there. In them matzev is Aid Akinui. Then Aid is a nickname, Akinui, Uluvush vehelam v'chelik halakah. He is a kinui and a garment, and he blocks on the chelik halakah. Gvura was for them nemzich. That's the level of Gevura, which all these blockages, that's the level of Gevura, the kinui, that you can't tell mamash. Oich demult is Ayid Manamis from Weiston of Elikus. Also, then Ayid hints and points to godliness. As is over nit in an oifun niker for the man. It's not in a recognizable way for everyone. Of them, darf mezayin a maven. Need to be a maven to understand that. The Rebbe relates now a story that you need to be a maven and a yid. And that's the story that Amol had the Rebbe Nishmos Eid Nishtark Mistabech Kimen Gedis Anosh B'Shutim. The Rebbe Rashab, he strongly praised certain simple folks, simple people. Zogendik as they haben in sich große Meiles. He said they have great advantages, greatnesses. Herendig the Werter, when he heard these words, hat a chosid the Monye Mones Zon. The Monye Mones Azogeton to Rebbe Nishmos Eiden. He sort of mentioned, gave a say to the Rebbe Nishmos Eiden, Ich seh it, I don't see it. The Monye Mones Zon had demult gehad by sich a pekel diamond. He had by himself a package of diamonds. It is given a größer diamond. He was a big merchant of diamonds. Hat ihm der Rebbe Nishmas Eden später gebeten. So later, the Rebbe Nishmas Eden asked of him, as he'll invite them Pekel Dimenten, he should show him the package of the diamonds. Rebbe Monje Monusuzon hat voneinander gelegt von dem Rebbe Nishmas Eden. He spread out before the Rebbe Nishmas Eden seine Dimenten, his diamonds. B'shas Maisa angewiesen, and at the time he pointed of ein Stein on a certain stone. Zogendik, he said, as der dement is got piliploim. This diamond is wonders of wonders. But the Rebbe Nishmas Eden gesagt, so the Rebbe Nishmas told him, ich seh it, I don't see it. But the Rebbe Monje Monas is on the Chabgerufen. He said, Dar Zayin Amevin, you have to be one who understands. The Rebbe Nishmas said, no, to him, the Rav Geantfer. So the Rebbe Nishmas answered him this. I eat this piliploim, that a yid is wonders of wonders. But Medav Zayin Amevin, you have to be somebody who can understand. So now we have already how within the world we have both, the Rotzen is Davke in a Yid. The nickname is in a Yid, notwithstanding, even when he's not davening, he's still a nickname, it's hidden, but it's still representing of Hashem, a nickname of Hashem. Und das ist der Öfte von Maimer HaZoyer, als Iden seinen Zakoi von Ha'ilom, that Yidden are privileged from the nation of the world, also in the fact that they are nicknamed by Hashem. That Ilui fun Shem Havaye Nikra Lecha B'Oifun Golui, the advantage that the name of Hashem is called upon you in an open, revealed way, is Shaykh Blois Bayim. That is only Bayim to begin with. Over the Maila fun Iskanibu, but the advantage that Hashem is nicknamed by them was Miken in Zeider Kennen. Euch dem nit goldikum verbunden mit der Lekus, that you can tell in them also the non-revealed connection with godliness is Faran the Gumosei by anderen Yone Habriya. Similar to that, this also exists in other creations. As the ganze Metzius for jedem Nivra is der Dvar Havai. Since the entire existence of every creation is the world of Hashem, is Oib Norman is a maven. So if a person can only be a maven, ken men from them nivra der kennen dem dvar havaye. So then you're able to recognize the word of Hashem from the created being. Was beleptin that vitalized them. This is a foretory, how much more so from them, was the state of Magid. It's written with regards about the Magid. The Magid was rich as the Kent, them koyach hapoyel. He would able to tell the power of the one who did the work, the human being, benifo, in what he accomplished with a vivid seeing. Which means, was my time with the Mafkin given in Aglisa Keli, he was able to distinguish and recognize in a certain Keli as der Ummah was it as gemacht, that the craftsman that made that Keli is given a summa by an achas, he was blind in one eye. He can see the craft, so even the that he can tell so for sure on a higher level, you can be able to tell from creation, the creator, the understanding. Von deswegen is der emes ilui von iskane davkebu. Where is the true advantage of iskane that Hashem is nicknamed is only by Eden, in Eden. Weil oif klolus habriris kemen nit zogen, as es is a kingdom of kutchabricha, because on the world, the general creation, you can't say that that's a nickname of kutchabricha. Adrabah. The nivra zet sich on v'ametzias farzich, the created being appears to be an entity for itself. But his havus is b'derech pula. It is created in a way of an act, of a doing. Something was done. It's separate. Yidden that are a part of Hashem from above mamish. Is a file vizegi finizich lematzah in a matzah from hell behester. Even as they find themselves below in a situation in which is hidden and obscure, they still remain united with godliness. Even then, they may not be clearly begoli, but a kinui as a nickname of Kuchabrichu. This is a distinction only by Yidden because they're not b'derech pe'ula, but they're a chelek al-kabimal mamish, so you can tell in them as they are a kinui of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The third thing is the tam test was the inspirable was by the Eberster Barimtzach mit Eden that he praises himself with the Eden. Is Valdos was the Shechina is shoyra lemato by a Eden. The fact that the Shechina rests below by a Yid is in them dokav yochel an ilui. Over there is an advantage, so to speak, legabi dem bizi is lemailo. Then the way the Shechina is not below, is above. Because the far is Iker Shechina b'tachtoin meis. The main Shechina is below. The Iker v'etzem Shechina, the main and the essence of the Shechina befinds sich b'tachtoin is finds up below. And the far is Kuchabrichu is poerbu. And that's why Hashem praises with them. Al durch Eden. Because through the Yidden, their service below, it accomplishes, so to speak, an elevation and a greatness. And here too, also, there is a similar and a sample. An example by other matters of creation. For all the worlds and creations that Hashem is brings into being and vitalizes, they all bring out Hashem's blessed greatness. But the Fathers of Chazal, that's why Chazal tell us, whatever Hashem created was for His honor. As Yeder Nivra, everything that was created is meisiving kvedi is baruch in Hashem's blessed honor. And expresses Hashem's kingdom. The Braise bringt der Evden Posik, Hashem Yimlech Leilam Vod, that Hashem shall king forever. This is an expression of Hashem's kingdom. So it's not only in, it seems like in the rest of the Bria, there's also a comparison. Yet, it is totally not similar to the idea from Yisrael Asher B'cho Espoir, that Yidden in which Hashem takes praise. L'shein Chazal, in the language of our sages of blessed memory, as the Eibishter Zokt, Hashem says, Es eschem chativa achas be'olam, I make you into one in the world. Well, Eden Zainen de Matore from Kol Abriya Kula. They are the purpose of all the creation. This is like an example. A Melech was boit a palaz for sein Tochter in Eden. So you're building a palace for his daughter and son-in-law. It's the Chadover Poshut as the palace is Moisif and Kov the Melech. It's obvious that this palace adds in the glory of the king. Was nor a Melech Godel in Yisod, you can't buy, and it's only a great and exalted king can build Azag Groise, such a big and wunderlich and wondrous, beautiful palace. Aber doch, yet, but man, nechshav der ganze Bayis Noah, what value this beautiful house with alle kelim noim, with all the beautiful vessels, was gefinnen sich dort that find themselves the gabe di relative to these, the tochter neighbor, the daughter and son-in-law, was to libzete gebuite bais. He built a house. So the most important is the son-in-law and daughter, and all these things, no comparison to that. Similar in our case. Whatever Hashem created was to his honor. Who are the ones that express the true greatness of Hashem? Was the Eibishter Barimtzich with him, that Hashem praises with him, is the Spoirbu. That is the Spoir, the third level in the Zohar. Because it's not Amcha Yisrael Yechad, it's only your people, one nation in the land. This is Mesichas Shabbos Parsha Shelach, Tovshin Lamed Aleph, and Tovshin Lamed Beis.